Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Whether you're here with us this morning or watching back, we really do appreciate your time and hope the information shared today is helpful and concise for you. Um, while we're waiting for others to join, you'll see a poll pop up on your screen. If you could please complete that, and those results will help Julie tailor the conversation for those which are watching today. Okay, thank you so much for completing the poll. Just before I hand over to our funding guru, Julie, I'd like to just take a minute just to speak a little bit about the London Early Years Foundation. So we're commonly known as LEAF, and it's a fantastic social enterprise dedicated to transforming the lives of children through high quality early years education and care. At its core, LEAF is driven by the belief that a child's early experience shapes their future. And as a social enterprise, it reinvests its profits into its mission rather than prioritizing the financial gain, ensuring that children from all backgrounds have access to excellent education and care. We currently have 41 settings across London, and that'll be extended to 44 in the coming months. So in saying this, LEAF work goes beyond childcare. It's about nurturing potential, fostering communities, and advocating for better early years policies. And that's done through creative teaching, staff training, and partnership with families. So during the webinar, you're going to have the opportunity to ask questions via the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen. We'll try to answer as many as we possibly can during the presentation. In addition, please stay on after the webinar just to complete a quick survey if you want to hear any more about our nurseries and booking a visit. Now, I'm really pleased to hand over to our expert, the wonderful Julie.
Hi everyone, I'm Julie. I work in the funding team here at LEAF. So I'm going to talk you through the various funding schemes that are available and how to apply. There's 3 schemes available at the moment. This is what the government offers. So there's the Working Parent Entitlement. That's available for children from 9 months to 5 years. The Local Authority Scheme, which is exclusive to 2-year-olds. And the universal funding, which is available to all 3- and 4-year-olds living in England. I've added a couple of links here at the bottom so you can get more information. There's the Childcare Choices website, which is a government website, so you'll find lots and lots of resources there. There's also a really good blog post offered by the Education Hub, specifically about the Working Parent Entitlement, which breaks things down really nicely. So you might want to have a look at that as well. So the first thing to consider is what might be available to your child for the summer term. So it's dependent on age. So if your child is 9 months to 23 months on the 31st of March, then they may be eligible for the 9-month plus funding in the summer term. If your child is currently 2 and still 2 on the 31st of March, then it will be the 2-year-old funding. If your child is currently 2 but turns 3 before the 31st of March, then it will be the 3 to 5-year-old funding in the summer term. So it's all dependent on how old your child is on the 31st of March to what might be available to you in the summer term. Just a word on how early years childcare funding works. It starts at the top with the parent. So apart from the universal funding, the onus is on the parent to apply for the funding in advance of the term. So the parent applies for the funding, that's either through the government or through the local authority, depending on which scheme you're applying for. And then the parent will submit their funding evidence, which might be in the form of a code or a letter. We'll go onto that a little bit further on. And gives that to the provider. The parent then also has to complete a parental declaration form. So this is how we get the funding back from the government, and how we can apply the funding to your bill. We then have to claim all the money back from the local authority by submitting your parental declaration form. The local authority claims the money back from the government, and then the cycle starts again for the next term with the parent reapplying or applying. If you're not eligible for funding in the summer, you can try again in the autumn. So I just wanted to illustrate really that once you've applied for your funding, there's quite a lot that has to happen for the money to get to the right place. We're going to start looking at the working parent entitlement. So there's 3 areas of eligibility that you have to fulfill to be eligible for this type of funding. So the age on the 31st of March. So your child will need to have been born on or before the 30th of June 2024 to be eligible. There's also quite tight income thresholds. So there's a minimum income threshold, which is basically, it works out as about 16 hours a week on minimum wage. You can check the current threshold on the government website, and there's also a maximum threshold. So both parents must not exceed the maximum income threshold, which is 100k per year. So if you earn 99k per year, both parents, you may qualify. If one parent exceeds the 100k, then you won't qualify for this type of funding. And it's also dependent on immigration status as well. So both parents must have a national insurance number, so basically be a UK taxpayer. And the parent who applies must also have either British or Irish citizenship, settled or pre-settled status, or you've applied and are waiting for a decision on that, and also have permission to access public funds. If you're about to start a new job, so you're not working at the moment, but you have a job offer, or you're on parental leave, maternity leave, paternity leave, or adoption leave, the date you will return to work or start a new job will be dependent on whether you're eligible for the summer term. So there's some dates here. The relevant ones for the summer term are you must have started or be returning to work between the 1st of February and the 30th of April for the term that's actually starting on the 22nd of April, so the summer 25 term. If you're not working but are in receipt of any of these benefits down here, you may still also be eligible for the working parent entitlement. If you go to the government website, the link is just down here. You can put in your various circumstances and it will let you know, HMRC will let you know whether you're eligible or not for the next term. So how you apply, you go to the Childcare Choices website and apply for an online childcare account. That's your government account for your childcare, and that will stay with you until your child is probably at secondary school, because tax-free childcare is on there as well. To apply, you'll need both your details and your partner's details. You'll need the national insurance number for both of you, and if you're self-employed, you'll need the UTR. You'll also need the birth certificate of your child or every child that you're applying for, and the date you started or are due to start work, which can be an approximation if you're not quite sure at the moment. There's one application for both your childcare code and tax-free childcare. It's worth applying for both at the same time. For every £8 that you pay into your tax-free childcare account, the government will automatically add £2. So it basically gives you an extra 20% off your bill. So make sure that you do both at the same time. Unfortunately, you can't use tax-free childcare with tax credits, universal credit childcare or childcare vouchers. So you can't combine the tax-free childcare with any of those. If your application is approved, and it can take about 20 minutes, and you can lots of parents get the outcome straight away. You'll be issued with an 11-digit eligibility code, which is really important because that's how you'll get the funding, and that's what you have to submit to us here at Leaf. We have an online form for you to easily submit those codes. It's the only way we can accept codes because it asks for a little bit more information, and it's also your confirmation of allowing us to use your eligibility code. So it's important that you do complete the form and not just send it to us via email or any other method. We will then confirm if your code is valid for the summer term and apply it to your account. Now, if you're already in receipt of the working parent entitlement, you do have to reconfirm your eligibility every 3 months via the HMRC website. HMRC will send you a prompt, and before the beginning of term, we will chase as well. But it is your responsibility to make sure that you log into your government childcare account and reconfirm your funding for the term ahead. The time to apply for the summer term is now. If you apply more than 3 months before the term starts, so if you're looking to start in September, for example, it's too early now to apply for your code. It's better that you apply in around about June time, because you have to revalidate every 3 months. So if you apply too early, you may find that your code is invalid for the term that you want it for, and you're going to have to log in and do it again. So that there are quite nice little sweet spots where if you apply for your code at that particular time, then your dates will fall in line. So for the summer term, if you haven't applied for your code already, now is the time to apply for it. Okay, so you have to apply for the term before you want to take up a place. So it might seem quite early at the moment, thinking about the summer term that starts in April. But the cut-off date is the 31st of March. That's the final government deadline. If you don't apply for funding on or before the 31st of March, then you have no chance basically of getting funding for the summer term. You would have to wait until autumn. We do have an internal deadline of the 2nd of March, which is this coming Sunday, and this is to enable us to apply the funding to the April bills, which are raised in March. We will accept codes up until the 31st of March, and if you apply on the 31st of March and send it to us afterwards. However, if there's any problem with your application, HMRC might not be able to get you through on time, so it's better to apply early. They always experience delays in the lead up to the deadline as well. The worst delay that I've heard of was a 20 working day deadline last summer. So basically don't leave it too late. You don't want to be in that awful queue. We do have an eligibility table on our website, which you can download. This is really handy. So if you are looking at future terms, you can see the date by which the child must have reached a particular age, when they can get their hours from, the recommended date to apply for a code. So we're looking at the spring, the summer term, and those deadlines, we keep those the same every year. So it will always be the 2nd of March, the deadline for the summer term. So moving on to the local authority funding for some 2-year-olds. You may be eligible for this type of funding if you are in receipt of any of those benefits. 2-year-olds can also get free childcare if they're looked after by the local authority, have an EHC plan, get disability living allowance, or adopted children also automatically qualify for this type of funding. This is applied for via the local authority, so not the childcare account, which is for the working parents. This is straight to the local authority. So our nurseries are in 12 different local authorities. And so there's a list here of where you can apply for this type of funding. Depending on the local authority, you might be issued with a code, a letter, a voucher. Some of them have golden tickets, and they're all different. So if you speak to your local authority, if you think that you might be eligible for this type of funding, and they'll advise you accordingly. If you can just let the nursery manager at your nursery know if you've applied for this type of funding, and then we can get that processed for you. Again, the time to apply for this type of funding is now, so that you can get out your evidence into us so that we know that you're eligible for this type of funding well ahead of the term starting. You need to have a code in the borough that the nursery is in. So, for example, if you live in Lambeth, but the nursery you want to go to is in Westminster, you must apply to Westminster for a code. If you apply for Lambeth, your code won't work for that nursery. If you're successful for this scheme, you don't need to reapply every term. So for the working parents, it's every 3 months. For this particular scheme, once you apply and you have your evidence, code, letter, whatever your the local authority gives you, that will stay in place for the whole time that your child's 2. So you don't need to keep reapplying for it every 3 months. Some children may qualify for both the working parent and the local authority scheme. In this instance, the government advises that you use the local authority scheme. And lastly, the universal funding for all 3- and 4-year-olds. There's no application process for this type of funding. This will automatically be applied to your account or your record automatically from the term following a child's 3rd birthday. So if your child is 3, on the 31st of March or before, you will automatically get this. You don't have to apply. The only stipulation is that that you're living in England, and it's regardless of income or immigration status. You do, however, still have to do the parental declaration form, and you'll receive a funding loop form. It's actually in March. The parent declaration form, we use a system called Funding Loop. So it looks like the image on the right. This is my signing page, and this is what you'll see the first time you log in. So you can log in with Google, Facebook, Microsoft, or you can set a password. It's really important that you keep these details, that you know how you first logged into your account, because you'll need to do this every term. And this is really important because when I showed you the cycle earlier, this is how we get the funding back from the local authorities. For the summer term, these will be sent out towards the end of March. And there is also a box on there asking for your consent for us to do an early years pupil premium check, EYPP. If you think that you might be eligible, or if you're unsure, if you can please tick that box. It provides a small amount of additional funding for the nurseries, which is spent on activities for the children. So it doesn't cost you anything, and it won't be on your record in any way. So you don't lose anything by ticking that box. It just enables a little bit more funding to come to the nursery if you are eligible. So just to recap, if you're a new parent applying for the working parent entitlement, please do apply for your code now. Sign up for the tax-free childcare at the same time. If you're eligible for one, you should be eligible for the other. It will give you that extra 20% off your bill. Submit your code to us via the Leaf website by the 2nd of March. I know that doesn't give you very much time. We will accept codes afterwards, but if you can not delay and apply for your code straight away, it will just make sure that everything can be in place before you start your nursery place. And then when we send it to you in March, if you can sign and submit the funding loop form, the local authority parental declaration form, it is a stipulation of the funding. If we don't receive that form, then we can't claim the funding back, and we might have to pass the cost back on to you. So it's just a simple form. Please do make sure that that's done. If you're a returning parent for the working parent entitlement, if you can log onto your childcare account, reconfirm your code by the 2nd of March, that will ensure that your funding continues for another term. Sign up for the tax-free childcare if you haven't already. There's no need to resubmit your code to us. So once we have your code, we have a way of checking your code to make sure that you've revalidated. So you don't need to resubmit it to us again. And again, sign and submit the funding loop form. If you're applying for the 2-year-old local authority scheme, apply now to your local authority. Submit your evidence to your nursery by the 2nd of March. If you can, we will again accept it afterwards, but the sooner you do it, the better. And then also you do have to submit the funding loop form. If you're already on the 2-year-old local authority scheme, you don't need to reapply. We'll just automatically add your funding for the new term. There's no need to resubmit your code to us either. It's just the funding loop form that you need to look out for. For the universal funding, there's less to do. So new parents, you don't actually have to do anything. You don't have to apply. There's no code to submit to us. We will automatically apply it to your account. And it's just the funding loop form that you'll have to do. And the same with returning parents. So again, these schemes, the working parent entitlement, as it suggests, they're available for working parents for children from 9 months to 5 years. Families who have a 2-year-old who are receiving some sort of government support may be able to get the local authority 2-year-old funding. And all families get the universal funding automatically from the term after your child turns 3. Just a word on the number of funded hours. The government funds 570 hours per year for most schemes. The only difference is the 30-hour scheme for 3 and 4-year-olds. That's being extended from September for all ages, but from the summer term, it is just for the 3 and 4-year-olds. They get 1,140 hours per year, so that's double. The government funds over 38 weeks term time only. So if your child attends nursery term time only, then you will get the 15 hours per week or the 30 hours for the working parent scheme for the 3 and 4-year-olds. If you're on a stretched booking, so you stretch your hours throughout the whole year, you'll receive 51 weeks of funding, but that does mean that you'll get on the 15 hours, 11 hours per week, or for the 30 hours scheme, the allocation is 22 hours per week. So if you receive your bill and you think, oh, I should be getting 15 hours or 30 hours, it's probably because you're on an all year round booking. So your funding's stretched throughout the year. So the key dates for the summer term, it's very late this year because Easter is very late. So the summer 25 term actually starts on the 22nd of April. So again, when you receive your bill, you'll receive the discount for the summer term from the 22nd of April. So you'll only actually get it for 1 week. The first full month of funding will be May. That will be different for returning parents. So if you're already in receipt of funding, then you will get the full, and on a stretch booking, you will get the full discount for April. However, if you are a term time only or you're accessing funding for the first time, the funding for summer starts on the 22nd of April. Just to also reconfirm, we do have an internal deadline for funding codes. It's the 2nd of March. We will accept them afterwards, but it's better if you do get them in early. The absolute final date is the 31st of March. You will lose your entitlement if you haven't applied or you haven't reconfirmed by the 31st of March. I can't stress that enough. Also, if your child is moving from 15 hours to 30 hours, so if you have a child that has been 2, they've been receiving the working parent entitlement this term on 15 hours, and they turn 3 by the 31st of March, so you're then entitled to the 30 hours. You might want to increase your sessions because you're getting more funded hours. If that's the case, please speak to your nursery manager as soon as possible, as places are limited. Realise that we've gone through lots and lots of information. It can be quite confusing at times. So there's some contact details there. We have a customer service team who deal with all of the bookings. They're very knowledgeable about what's available at every nursery, so that they can help you out with all of that. If you have a specific query about the funding schemes, there's a funding mailbox as well. So that will be the funding team, which I'm part of. That will come straight to us and we'll help you out as much as we can. And if you do need to contact HMRC, the number for HMRC is there. If you find that you're waiting quite a long time to get your code, just give them a call. The sooner you get into the system, the better.
Thank you so much, Julie. As you said, there's a lot of information there, so we'll be pleased to distribute this webinar to you all via email in the coming days. We have had a few questions come in. Julie, I do believe that you've covered most of them, but I'm just going to go through them generally, and if you can give a quick answer, because I think, yeah, most have now been covered. So do you have to send, so this from Kat, do you have to send the government code into the nursery when we have it, or will it automatically be seen by the nursery?
No, so you must send it to us. So if it's the working parent code, which is an 11-digit code, starts with a 5 or a 1. If you go to the Leaf website, under useful forms, there's an eligibility code submission form, and that's you submitting your code. So yes, we don't automatically get it.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And you've mentioned the date. So a couple of people have been asking about if they missed that 2nd of March deadline, which you've mentioned. They've said that there's a couple of people have mentioned a 10-day working day current is a waiting time at the moment. So they're worried they're going to miss that date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a request to get it into us by the 2nd of March, just because the earlier we get them, the better. But we will continue to accept codes up until the end of March.
Perfect, thank you. And Ella has asked, I've only just applied to the working parent entitlement. My HMRC's account says I can only reconfigure my code mid-April, which is after the deadline for leave. What is the process for this?
Yeah, so if you just some people do fall into that little gap. So you're fine. It sounds like you do currently have a valid code, and the code end date just happens to be in April. So if you just make sure that as soon as your window to revalidate it straight away, and it will be fine for the summer.
Brill, thank you. And with Hannah's question, so she said, thank you very much for sharing the information. I don't know if you'll be able to answer it or not, but if not, Hannah, we will get a answer to you. But does any of this apply if you're a PhD student on a government stipend?
I think stipends are actually tax-free, so possibly not. But if the funding query mailbox is there, Hannah, so if you want to drop me a line and we'll check that out for you.
Perfect. Thank you, Julie. And just a couple more. If I pay my monthly, this is Ashley, if I pay my monthly nursery fee into the government tax-free childcare account, do I set up a direct debit to pay the nursery from that account?
I think so. I will have to confer with our billing team. So again, we'll get back to you on that. Do you have an email address there for?
I'm sure we will on record.
Yeah.
Yeah, if not Ashley, if you can, yeah, please email the customer service and then we'll let you know. We have an attendee whose grandchild is in care and in nursery. They're turning 2 in May. Can they apply? And if so, which one?
So it sounds like they would be eligible to the local authority scheme, but if they don't turn 2 until May, they won't actually be age eligible until September. So I think the best thing to do is to contact the local authority where the nursery is, and ask them the application process for the local authority scheme for September.
Thank you, Julie. Farhad is asking, my wife is on maternity leave, but I'm working full time. Can I apply for the monthly funding now? Our child will be starting on May the 15th at nursery when she will be 1 years old.
Yeah, so I would make an application on the government website and put in all of your dates of the maternity dates and the return to work dates, and HMRC will come back to you if they have a query on it. But get it in the process.
Brill. Thank you, Julie. Kate's asked, if applying for the first time in April, the new tax year, should I apply for tax-free childcare and working parent entitlement together, even though the code will expire before September?
Yes. Yeah. That they will issue a temporary code that you can use once. So yes, that surprised the government the first time the working parents entitlement was expanded. So they now have a system for that in place. So do apply for them both.
Thank you. Lavette has asked, so welcome Lavette, as your daughter is joining in July. She'll be turning 9 months old on March the 15th. I did the government application, but it says pending, which is because my wife is more than 31 days away from returning to work. She will return to work in July when our daughter starts. Will I still get my tax-free account and code to apply on time to enroll from July?
That sounds like it's a HMRC issue. So your child's age eligible. It's the maternity returning to work that might cause an issue. So if you contact HMRC, they will advise you accordingly on that one.
Perfect. Thank you, Julie. And I've just got a message from Muna, which is our billing and parents account manager. And Ashley, she just said, if you can set up a standing order from your TFC account, not a direct debit. So just a message for Ashley. And then finally, our final question from John is, if childcare for 3 months old to 2 years old is expanding, is childcare from 3 months old to 2 years old expanding from 50 to 30 hours from September of this year?
Yes, but it's from 9 months to 5 years. So yes, the scheme has been being rolled out over the past year. So the end point will be 30 hours for 9 months to 5 years. But it's the reason why it's got so confusing is that they've rolled it out in stages. So the first stage was to provide the 15 hours working parent entitlement for 2-year-olds. The second stage was to extend that to 9 months old and older. And then the final stage in September, they'll be providing the 30 hours from 9 months to 5 years. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Julie, for that. A lot of information. So like I said, we'll be sharing this presentation. You've also got our contact details. So please, please do email us with any questions that haven't been answered or are particular to your situation. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for attending. I'm Gemma. I'm the Head of Parent Services. And I hope to welcome you to Leaf very soon. Thank you very much for attending.